family spent a lifetime seeing me as the quiet, forgettable one, until the moment my brother-in-law-to-be froze, looked at me and asked a question that changed everything. For as long as I can remember, I've known my role. In our family, I was the backdrop. The reliable, steady presence you could count on to listen, to help, to never make waves. My sister Clara was the star. Her life was a series of achievements announced with fanfare. And my work? It was the polite, boring thing we didn't discuss. I told myself their perception didn't matter. I had built a life I was proud of, one of quiet purpose and real responsibility. But at family gatherings, I would let the familiar label settle over me. It was easier. It kept the peace. That's what I told myself the night of Clara's engagement party. The party was a perfect reflection of her. Flawless, elegant, designed to impress. I arrived early, as always, and was immediately handed a tray of drinks to organize. No hello, just a task. I fell into the rhythm of being useful and invisible. Then Clara made her entrance. She glided in, her fiancé Leo beside him. He was sharp, successful in finance, the kind of man my parents adored for her. When she brought him over, she draped an arm around me. "This is my little sister," she said, her voice sweet. "She's in civil service, very stable, very administrative." A few polite, pitying smiles flickered around the circle. My chest tightened, but I just nodded. It was the script. Dinner was served. The toasts began. Glasses clinked for their future. Then Clara stood up, her champagne flute held high. "To building a life of significance," she said, her eyes gleaming. She glanced at me, a playful, cutting smile on her lips. Not everyone gets a front-page life. Some of us are happier in the supporting roles, right? The table chuckled awkwardly. That's when Leo, who had been quiet, turned his chair toward me. His expression was odd. Not mocking, but puzzled. Like he was trying to solve a riddle. "Wait," he said, his voice cutting through the chatter. "Clara said civil service. What is it you actually do there?" The table went quiet on you. Quiet. All eyes turned to me. In that silence, years of minimized moments flashed by. Every time I'd simplified my title. Every holiday I'd spent listening instead of being heard. I looked at my parents, at Clara's expectant face, and finally at Leo. The old instinct to downplay it, to say, "Oh, just paperwork," rose up. But a calmer, stronger feeling pushed it down. This was the line. If I crossed it, nothing would be the same. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't smile to soften it. I simply met Leo's gaze and said the one word I'd never said at this table. "Commissioner." The word didn't echo. It just sat there, heavy and real. My mother's fork hovered halfway to her mouth. My father blinked, slowly. Clara's smile didn't vanish. It hardened into a confused grimace. "What?" She laughed, a brittle sound. What does that even mean? But Leo wasn't looking at her. He was staring at me, his face shifting from confusion to dawning, unmistakable recognition. He leaned back, a slow, deliberate movement. "Commissioner Ava Reed," he stated, not asked. "The Municipal Oversight Commission. You chaired the hearings for the Riverside Development Project." The silence this time was absolute. You could hear the ice melting in someone's glass. My father found his voice first, a hoarse whisper. "Ava, you're a city commissioner? Since when?" "For 4 years," I said, my voice steady. "I tried to tell you when I was first appointed. You said it sounded like a lot of meetings and changed the subject. The realization didn't hit them like a wave. It seeped in, cold and uncomfortable. They weren't just learning a new fact. They were realizing they had never asked the right question. I hadn't hidden my light. I'd just stopped holding it up to eyes that refused to see. Clara pushed her chair back, the scrape violent against the patio stones. "You let us believe you were a clerk?" she accused, her voice trembling with a fury born of humiliation. "You sat there for years and let us think that." "I never lied," I replied, my gaze level. "You described the version of me that was easiest for you. I stopped correcting you." Leo ran a hand over his face. He looked at Clara, then back at me, a conflict playing out behind his eyes. "I testified before your commission twice," he said, almost to himself. "You were formidable, precise." I didn't make the connection because Clara always just said, "My sister works for the city." He turned to her. His tone changed. "You never mentioned her last name. You never let her finish a sentence." That truth landed with more force than my revelation. The dynamic at the table fractured. Clara stood there, beautiful and furious, realizing for the first time that the audience wasn't applauding. She looked from our stunned parents to Leo's disappointed face, to my calm one. "You've ruined my night," she whispered, before turning and walking stiffly into the house. The party ended not with a bang, but with a slow, quiet unraveling. The next few days were a flood of hesitant texts and voicemails. My parents left long, stumbling messages full of questions they'd never thought to ask before. A week later, Leo came to see me. We talked on my balcony, not as in law and sibling, but as two professionals who had seen each other in a different world. "I can't unsee how she treated you," he admitted. "How they all did." Things aren't magically fixed. Clara and I are navigating a new, fragile space. But the change, the real change, is in me. I used to believe that shrinking kept the peace. I was wrong. Silence doesn't protect anyone. It just gives permission for others to define you. Your growth, your success, your truth, they are not threats to the people who truly care about you. If you've ever made yourself smaller to fit into someone else's comfortable story, you are not alone. Share your moment of choosing to be seen in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, that moment of quiet strength, please give this video a like and subscribe to Wines of Thought. We have more stories about finding your voice against the current. Never confuse their comfort with your worth.